Welcome back to News Conference. There are three candidates running for the United States Senate nomination on the Republican side here in California. Chuck DeVore, member of the State Assembly from Irvine, former Congressman Tom Campbell, and our guest, Carly Fiorina. She is the former CEO of Hewlett-Packard Corporation, former advisor to then presidential candidate John McCain. Remarkable race in Massachusetts. A Republican wins that seat for the first time since the early 1950s. It was called the Ted Kennedy seat. What does that say about, in your opinion, what does that say about the politics of today and perhaps the Republicans' chances in this state?
Well, I think it says, first of all, that you cannot take voters for granted. And all the political punditry in the world, you know, they can call them red states or blue states, but the truth is the voters make up their own mind. And I think it says as well that voters are frustrated, they're anxious, they want real solutions to their real problems, and they're tired of professional politicians telling them they know better. And I think third, it says that, you know, incumbents everywhere need to be worried. Everyone has always said, oh, a Republican can't ever win a U.S. Senate seat in California. Well, yes, I can.
It just happened. And the LA Times did a story about how you voted something like 25% of the time in the past 10 years. Many elections you passed on. Now you're seeking the U.S. Senate seat. Why is that? Why was it not a priority with you?
Shame on me, first of all. I'll make excuses. I applaud the people who exercise their civic duty and vote every time, and I should have. You know, honestly speaking, people die around the world for the right to vote, so shame on me. There have been times, I must say honestly, where I felt disconnected from what was going on, and it didn't seem like my vote had any connection with what happened in Washington. Maybe a lot of people feel that way, but maybe a lot of people now see that what goes on in Washington, particularly when we talk about something like health care, affects every single one of us, so we better stand up, be heard. In
Republican primaries in California, you have country club conservatives and you have social conservatives, and that social conservatives dominate in the primary. Let me talk about some social issues here. Your position on abortion.
I believe life begins at conception. I am pro-life.
Would you vote against a Supreme Court nominee who said, I'm in favor of Roe versus Wade?
No, I don't believe in litmus tests for Supreme Court justices. I believe elections have consequences. What I would be looking for in a Supreme Court justice is someone who is qualified to do the job and who I believe will interpret the Constitution as opposed to change the Constitution.
What do you think about same-sex marriage? That may be on the ballot at the same time you're on the ballot.
I was very proud as the chairman and CEO of Hewlett-Packard to put forward a history-making benefits package for same-sex partners. I thought it was the right thing to do. I think it's right to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, for example. But I do believe that marriage is between a man and a woman because millions of people of all faiths believe that only a man and a woman can create life, and that is a gift that comes from God.
Let's go back to your tenure at HP. There are Democrats who've said that this gives them an ample amount of ammunition against you in the fall if you are to be the nominee of your party. Let me read you what Eric Schultz, the spokesman for the Democratic National Senatorial Campaign Committee, said about your candidacy. The hallmark of Carly Fiorina's resume is her tenure at Hewlett-Packard, where she laid off 28,000 Americans while shipping jobs overseas just before taking a $21 million golden parachute. Given that record, the United States Senate is the last place Carly Fiorina should go next. Let's take a look at that. You left HP after 5 years?
6 years.
6 years. Board of Directors asked you to leave?
Some on the Board of Directors, but that's a whole other story. Politics exists in the boardroom as well.
And you did argue for the globalization of the industry and the use of employees overseas. Defend your record at HP. They argue that the stock dropped by 50% by the time you left.
Yeah. Well, I had the great privilege of leading Hewlett-Packard for 6 years during the dot-com boom and bust and the worst technology recession in 25 years. And despite those difficult times, I doubled the size of the company from $44 billion to $88 billion. We improved profitability in every product line. We quintupled our cash flow. We tripled our rate of innovation. We achieved leadership in every market in which we competed. And our stock during a very difficult time outperformed the technology peer index by 23%. I'll run on that record all day long. Yes, the foundation that I laid, we operated as a company in 152 countries around the world. China, for example, was a huge market for us, so of course we have employees in China and other huge markets. But also, absolutely, during tough times, sometimes you have to make tough choices. And yes, I had to lay people off during a very tough economic downturn. Every one of those hurt. But sometimes if you make the right tough choices during tough times, you emerge stronger. And in fact, by the time I left Hewlett-Packard, net, we had created jobs. I will run on that record all day long. But one thing I remember from leading Hewlett-Packard, when it came time to new manufacturing jobs, new jobs somewhere, if I could put them in Texas, it was an easier choice than putting them in California. It is virtually impossible now in a competitive world in which every state in this nation competes for our jobs and every nation in the world competes for our jobs. It is virtually impossible for a responsible business owner leading a business of any size to say, I want to put a new job in California. And that's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate, because we have to turn that around.
Carly Fiorina is the candidate for the Republican nomination for Senate, along with two others who will also be on this program at some point. We'll have a few more questions after this.